Excellent. Well, thank you for attending and being part of this today. I'm going to hopefully keep it relatively short, somewhere between around 45 minutes, maybe even less, and really just gets to the point in terms of what's happening. I don't have a lot of slides. It's very much off the cuff. I've been insanely busy. The whole situation with Trump and what's happened has certainly got me busy, got a lot of things happening, and it's going to make a very big difference. I'm going to explain why. Just type in the chat your general mood right now, how you're feeling about everything after the election, about life. We've obviously had a shitty last 4.5 years. That's an understatement. But what's your general mood in the chat? Like I said, keep in mind it's been an absolutely diabolical go. Feeling positive. Christine's feeling cautious. Good. Yep. Yep. Anyone else? Excited? Optimistic? Yeah, optimistic. You see, that's generally what I'm noticing everywhere at the moment. I was speaking to some Ukrainians I know today, and just so you know, right now, like there's a Ukrainian friend, I speak to her daily, and she lets me know, she's put me into a Telegram group. Her life, she's pretty used to drones flying in, blowing out the electricity, and been trying to sleep in the night in -3 degree heat, and living on 6 hours power a day. And that's the norm for many people in Ukraine. If you're a man, it's even worse because you're living in fear that you're going to be rounded up by the police, locked up and conscripted and forced into the army. Even in her case as a girl, she was suddenly accused as a spy because she was talking to some people in Russia and spent 3 days being interrogated. So whatever we think's going on in our life that's difficult, there are people having it a lot worse. And, just wasn't planning to go on this little rant, but it's easy when we sit on computers and we're in a country like Australia or in America or whatever, and we're relatively doing okay, to sit back there and make our little rants. And then there's people who really living a life on the ground. And when we sit there and we do our little rants and our views about what's going on in politics, we forget. But decisions have real impact upon real people's lives. And as I said to my sons and some friends, I said to them, how would you feel if you knew that you could be conscripted any day? What would you be doing? I said, oh, we'd be running. I said, yeah, you want to leave? And I said, if you're a female or you weren't conscripted, they said, yeah, well, the drones and the rockets would scare us. As my friend was telling me, she said, yeah, no, she said, yesterday she was very scared. She said, yeah, well, she said, had to get urgent food and supply because we had air raid alerts. We're getting them every second day at the moment. They heard a whirring of drones, and next minute they saw explosions and things like that. So this is what's going on. And so when you, of course, you got a president talking about ending this and causing the parties just to get together and stop doing, creating wars for money and profit, it's hard to not be relatively optimistic, but at least for a time, things can improve. Who's with me? Who's with me on this? Just type a Y or raise your hand. Yeah, there's a lot of optimism right now I'm noticing with people. And I said this last week, and I'm going to kind of go into where I feel things are at. And keep in mind that when I give my little disclaimer, it's a very genuine disclaimer, because the honest truth is, I'm giving my opinion, and at times my opinions have been extraordinarily accurate. More often than not, they've been pretty on the mark, I can say. Have I got it spectacularly wrong at times? Yes, I have. For all we know, Trump could get assassinated next week. They might do their 4th attempt and they might succeed. So this is all based on what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm observing. And so far I've been having the time of my life on the markets, basically, going along with it. I made some trades today on the US dollar going up. I've been doing that because it's like, well, if the optimism towards Trump, the US dollar is going to soar. So shorting the US dollar against currencies, or, shorting currency against the US dollar or going to buy it can do really well. So there's just so much opportunity right now. And so often in life, we miss opportunities because we can sit there kind of looking for the bad and looking for in things that are going on. Now, keep in mind, those of you who know me know naturally I'm a little bit of a pessimist. I'm an asset protection guy. I'm things like that. So when I'm being optimistic, that there's a pretty good basis for it, research, because I'm naturally more pessimistic than optimistic. And the last 4.5 years, I've been relatively pessimistic. And as it's turned out, with pretty good reason in terms of what's going on. I don't feel that way right now, I can tell you. I find it very difficult to be pessimistic, and you'll be finding out why. And keep in mind, just in the same way that cycles swing, we hit summer, we hit spring. The only thing we know for sure in spring, and right now we're in summer, and we're in spring in Australia, about to hit summer. We know summer will come. We're going to swim. We're going to enjoy the heat. And then guess what? Autumn's going to come. There's going to be leaves dropping off trees. And before we know it, it'll be winter. It'll be bloody cold. And we're wishing we were a bird and could fly north or south, or we would migrate to our second house. So the point I'm making is, in the same way, when things were really bad the last 4.5 years with the COVID debacle, with everything, now we've entered in a way a bit of a spring, which is going to move into a summer, and things are going to get good. So good that often you'll almost forget the dark times ever happened and think it will go forever. Just always remember that the winter will come again and the autumn will come again. But the important thing is enjoy the time while we've got it now. Embrace the times that we're entering into right now. So I'll share a little bit about the Manic boom. And those of you who were there last week know I mentioned this. And I don't know if any of you saw what happened with Dogecoin, but a lot's been happening in the media. Elon Musk, they've decided to call the Department of Government Efficiency, like DOGE, for Doge. And Dogecoin is, of course, Elon Musk's favorite coin. Does everyone here know what Dogecoin is? Just hopefully everyone does. Yeah, so basically in the crypto market, this is what fucks with people's heads and why so many people who are over 45 or 50 struggle with cryptos as a rule. Whereas the young people worked it out pretty quickly. Because crypto is pretty much half of the coins you see here are not even real value, and they're a joke, like Dogecoin. The story with Dogecoin, and it's important to understand this to give you a little bit of an idea where the world's heading. Basically, years ago, there was a guy basically did a picture of his dog, put it on a coin, and released it as an investment cryptocurrency. And it took off, got very popular, and is now the 6th most successful cryptocurrency on the market. Elon Musk absolutely loves Dogecoin so much that they've named the Department of Government Efficiency after that. I invested quite a bit more in Doge just the other day. It literally went from 18 cents to like 40 cents in almost no time at all. And this has been quite normal with many. It's just been shooting up. Keeping in mind that to do that, what makes it extraordinary, and this is a numbers thing, and hopefully your mathematics can get this. There's this thing called market cap, which means there's $55 billion or whatever else invested in Dogecoin. So for it to do that, that means $30 billion was poured into Dogecoin in about 2 days. $30 billion or more. And that's not including the billions that have been poured into Bitcoin, which went from 75 to 8 to 90 very, very quickly. And so keeping in mind with a 1.7 trillion market cap, that means that around 250 billion went into Bitcoin. Ethereum had similar things. I mean, the list goes on. The question is, where is all this money coming from? So where is it coming from? The answer is, it's obviously not coming from mums and dads, because it's not even in the media. It's obviously not even coming from normal crypto investors who've done really well in the last cycle. Let's see if you can guess. Who do you think is putting that money in? So today, I'm going to podcast, give a little bit of discussion and help educate you in some good common sense that's going to help you understand for coming along. What do you reckon? Where's this money coming from? Type in the chat. Just think logically. Like there's like 250 billion in Bitcoin alone, 30 billion plus in Doge, and that's just 2 of the many. Yep, Tony says large investment agencies. Fiona says hedge funds. Esther says government. You're probably all correct. Donald Trump has said, for example, they're planning to stabilize. Many of you know that the US debt's been heading for a major crash. I couldn't believe the brilliance of it. Yeah, BlackRock's won, Lorraine. Trump and Vance are talking about getting a million Bitcoins of the 21 supply and stabilizing and propping up the US government's treasury with Bitcoin. As well as opening the gates and making it becoming the world #1. So there's so much that's happening you cannot comprehend that's going on right now. I mean, I've been in wonder thinking, fuck, I feel like I'm in a bloody movie right now. It's like, so you've got this going on. So you've got these people, big companies. So why would big companies and massive money agencies be pouring money in? Because suddenly crypto is no longer this weird little thing that strange people do on strange devices. Now, Donald Trump, who just got attempted assassination, has become president, and one of the greatest political comebacks of all time, has got up, has put Elon Musk, JD Vance, Ramaswamy, put his team together. He's announced today that they officially are forming the DOGE Department of Government Efficiency. And I bet you 90% that they'll have its own office, and Musk will have a picture of a Doge coin on top. Keeping in mind, if you really want to know how funny crypto is and why you probably hear many big investment agencies and that, or people criticize crypto and say it's not real utility. And I basically talk about Doge for, like real utility. And I'm like, well, the US dollar and Australian dollar's got no real utility, just that people believe it actually exists. So you've got like, they've announced this stuff. I guarantee you that Musk will almost probably put a picture of the Dogecoin. And to make it even funny, the original dog that inspired Doge has died, and now they've created, and the dog's brother, they've now created a new coin based after the dog's brother in honor of the dog. And I have a feeling it's going to do very well. But you see, you never understand crypto, for example, or any of this stuff if you don't understand the craziness of where the world has gone. I mean, Donald Trump being in, Elon Musk having a whole big cleanup. In a way, what they've done so well is taken advantage of the fact that people are fed up with with career politicians and basically wanting business people involved. And crypto, the millennials and the younger people, and many in their 30s, they love this kind of stuff. They like crazy coins. There's one right now which I went today called Gay Coin, literally, and it's to honor gay people. And this is the kind of stuff that's happening right now. And I'm not saying to invest. I'm not giving advice. That's just so you know, that's a ridiculously high risk one. So I've tucked in about $150 just to really put that in context. But the reason I'm sharing all this is for the pure fact that we're in a manic boom because people's optimism is understanding human psychology. So generally when people go through a really tough time and it goes on for a long time and suddenly things get better, like let's say that you've been really sick for a long time and suddenly you get better. What's your natural reaction? Just type in the chat. What would be your natural reaction if you've been sick for a long time and you suddenly get like a shitload better really quickly? Are you going to sit there feeling sad? Or are you going to get up and celebrate and go absolutely crazy for a period of time? Yeah, you're going to celebrate. So what do you think people are going to do right now after 4.5 years of being censored on Facebook, being told to take a vaccination that was experimental, that they didn't really want to take? People basically who are transgender, pretty much having woke military generals being put in there. Basically women going in men going in women's sports, being forced into the schools, everything being done in reverse. And suddenly that's ending and there's a regime change and everything's going to go opposite. Robert Kennedy, don't know, I'm sure most of you, does everyone here know who Robert Kennedy is? RFK. Yeah, or you all do. Just type it in if you haven't actually read what Kennedy is going to do, like the policy statement of what Kennedy is doing. No, most of you haven't. Okay. It's going to sound like a movie, but you can read this for yourself, okay? Trump has pretty much said to Kennedy, I'm giving you a carte blanche green light to clean up the health system. He said you can pretty much fire any bureaucrats that were involved in censoring or forcing mandates upon people. The only restrictions he's put on Kennedy is he said, and Kennedy, by the way, agrees with him. He said, I do believe if people want the vaccine, they should be allowed to do it in the same way they should choose not to. But he said, basically, it's freedom of choice for vaccines, firing anyone they're planning to do who tried to force this on people. They're talking about removing fluoride from the water. That's one of Kennedy's plans. Yes, I'm serious. They're talking about changing the Medicare equivalent system over there to allow gym workouts to be prescribed by doctors, to allow fresh food to be put in the diet. Kennedy's going to remove sugary processed shit from and that. They're going to do a war on processed foods and chemically based toxic food to start removing it and getting and cleaning up the industry. They're going to remove glyphosate from many of the things. Like, I don't know if you know about glyphosate, but it's a horrible thing. It causes all kinds of problems in health. This is what Kennedy said, and Trump has said, I'm going to give you the green light to do all this stuff. The only restriction he put in was he said, Bobby, don't touch the oil, because Robert Kennedy doesn't like oil and gas and drilling and wants to protect the environment. He goes, we're going to be drilling. And the truth is, although I like the environment too, there's a good reason Trump's saying that, because if you actually study the new AI, artificial intelligence, basically the amount of energy and power that's needed to fuel all this stuff, to fuel the new AI is insane, and they wouldn't be able to do it. So they're going to need a lot more stuff, which means probably things like natural gas and many others and stuff like that. So keep in mind that just psychologically now, you've got a president who's come in, who survived death, who's a bit of a hero in a way with that. He's a true patriot. He's putting tariffs to basically protect America's economy. You've got Kevin Rudd, who's certainly no coward, frantically deleting all of his posts that he's ever spoken negative about Trump, because he says, I want to make sure I've got the respect. And leaders all over the world scurrying to clean their acts up, like Hamas offering to, clean up their act in Palestine. I've never seen Vladimir Putin, who's always been a hard, strong man and courageous and very awkward when he's talking about the war. He goes, I don't know what to do now. I'm just going to kind of wait for Trump to talk to us. So pretty much now, these guys are all like, okay, we better listen to this guy because he's shown who he was by winning an impossible election. Now, keep in mind, world leaders are not going to be wanting to put him offside very quickly. And it's also going to encourage people to step up who previously felt too fearful. Like, who here already now feels more courageously ready and more comfortable speaking out about your beliefs, like, than you would say 3 weeks ago? Yeah. 3 weeks ago, you would be like ridiculed if you mentioned Trump or MAGA or certain views. So a lot of people now are going to be more emboldened, to the point sometimes of negative. So why am I saying all this? Because it is going to bring in a temporary mania, is my prediction, okay? Only one person, by the way. Anyone else here feeling really would be more comfortable now speaking your truth than before? Just type a Y. Surely there's more than one. Some yes, some no. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the thing is what you're hearing from me right now, a lot of people are still going to be suspicious. They're going to still be that. And look, I'm not saying not to be cautious, okay? Lots can happen. But this is brought a temporary wave of improvement. But I see a bit of a golden period, a bit of a prosperity period. And yeah, like a terrible bill going through Parliament to remove freedom of speech. Well, we'll see what happens, because you're going to find someone like, you're going to basically find that people previously who wouldn't speak out will speak out about it now. You're going to have apparently Lydia Thorpe every 30 seconds. Her office is being called right now to block the bill in the Senate. She's like the key, holds the key thing. Like every 30 seconds they're doing that. And although people are anti-Trump for now, you can be anti whoever you want, but it's a little bit like when the woke movement had power. You may not like them, but you didn't dare cross them. And most of you would have known. You'd have been very cautious because you could lose your job. You could be blocked on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So just keep in mind that even though a lot of people don't like Trump, they're not going to have any choice. And in time, I'm predicting that they may not like him, but a lot of people will start to respect him when they see things happen. And yeah, he may not, he's always going to have people who hate him. The point I'm making is now it all comes down to who's got control and who's got power. And for now, for whatever reason, the balance has shifted and things have changed. And all I can, and the reason I'm saying all this is I'm predicting a temporary mania and temporary boom. I don't know how long it will go. A lot of people think it will go for months, 2 or 3 years. I'm less sure, being more naturally pessimistic. I do think we're going to have a boom, prosperous period, but I think that the real mania and the big returns are only going to be over the next 3 to 4 months. It may be longer, but it's not going to be a lot of time. And again, I don't say that lightly because often it can then come across as you're promoting scarcity or stuff like that. But those of you who've been in crypto runs or booms in your lifetime would know what I mean. When they move fast and they end quickly, and you sit there thinking, why the fuck didn't I put more money in? Has anyone here ever felt that way? You've watched a boom happen and you just wish you'd put more money in, you know? And I've got to be emphasizing what I'm saying or I'm not saying here. I'm not saying you go in here, go speculative, risk your whole future and do anything really dumb, okay? All I'm saying is understand the times you're in and realize that in a time like this, there's going to be some opportunities if you're wise with your money, if you get educated and you position yourself and put the work in. I've been positioning myself so hard and fast, I've blooming sprained my neck from over pushing. So I was in treatment yesterday, today, but I'm a lot better now. But yeah, so the main thing is to realize the times that we're in. And we're still very early because I've been reading the media. No one's talking about what's going on with the cryptos. No one's talking about the fact that gold has plummeted. And again, I'll just ask everyone here a question because this is about educating you. Why do you think gold has dropped while everything else has gone up? Just let's see who gets the brownie points on that one. Why do you think gold has dropped? I mean, sure, there could be central banks stopping doing it and that, but what's one big reason, just common sense, why gold is dropping while cryptos and stocks are going up? Just let's see how much you've learned from listening to webinars. Yep, Fiona, moving from gold to crypto and stocks. Correct. Why people, yeah, Kat has written, perfect answer, Kat. People buy gold when they're worried about the future and the economy and they think war's going to happen. So now that people are anticipating peace and anticipating a better world, they're like, now gold's boring. Let's move it somewhere else. So let's go into some crazy coin with a dog on it, or let's just go and do something that could make us a lot of money very quickly. So, so basically, yeah, I've been shorting gold or whatever else. And yeah, and look, like anything, you just got to learn the trends and things like that and realize, keeping in mind, you position yourself based on your level of financial education, okay? It's like, some of you know I'm a part-time pole dancer, haven't done it for a while, but yeah, I always like to use it to give people a laugh. Don't try and do advanced pole tricks when you've only had 3 lessons, for example. So likewise, you don't want to be jumping into all kinds of stuff to try and get rich if you with cryptos or stocks if you don't know what you're doing. I often disappoint clients when, I mean, number one, I don't give financial advice, but when they start getting excited, I'm like, what do you suggest I do? I say, go see a financial advisor because you don't know what you're doing. Get some education with this and just start with the basics, get your basics in place, make sure you got your cash, your shares or whatever else and get yourself done. So, but like anything, we're still so early because the media's not talking about it. Even on this webinar now, that's why I got people chatting. There's still quite a lot of people very pessimistic here watching the chat, caught up with the misinformation bill and everything else. And I'm not criticizing you because, yeah, these things are problems. But people are still, by and large, not hitting people the change that's actually happened and what's going to happen. Keep in mind that the climate change and the craziness that we saw that swept the world like a momentum of social kind of momentum, people can change very quickly. And once people kind of see this, don't be surprised to see a lot of things happen. Freedom of speech open right up, people blatantly pushing back on big levels. Even this morning, a Victoria senator got straight up and spoke out quite openly on Twitter about stuff, So just keeping in mind that we're still very early. And if you're willing to put basically this month and next month into getting ready for next year, I have a feeling you're going to be very happy that you've done so. I mean, I personally think we're going to see a lot happen even the next month or so, but certainly you're not going to go too wrong if you're positioning yourself now, getting ready for next year and for next couple of years for stock market, things like that. And Tony, yeah, when the media talk about it, it's too late. I have a simple rule. Last crypto boom, I think I mentioned last week, as soon as I heard my mum talking about it and my family members and asking me how to do it, I went home and told my sons, let's sell half our crypto quickly. If my mum's talking about crypto, it's really gone too silly. And I think 2 weeks later, it dropped. Right now, no one's talking about it at all. And so it's still very early. People just think it's another fad. Whereas I don't believe it is. I believe that now it's going to go mainstream. It's going to be regulated. It's going to become normalized over the next 3 to 5 years. People will start to work out that right now, if you want to wire money over to Hong Kong, for example, you've got to go in this stupid system. I mean, I had someone pay me the other week, and like it takes 2.5 days or 3 days from Singapore on a bank ride. They could have got jumped on crypto, got on their MetaMask and transferred it to me, and I would have had it in a couple of minutes, or got onto their coin spot or whatever. Now, if you don't know what I mean, that's crypto language. But now I can send money to someone in Russia, and get around sanctions on Bitcoin if I wanted to. I could send money in about 10 minutes, in about a minute right now to someone. I have clients pay me in crypto. In most of Australia is still very far behind because being a prison colony, we still tend to kind of, like we've got these misinformation bills and trying to kind of restrict our citizens. But most other countries now, they've got apps where you can just simply have your crypto on the same app as you have your bank balances and just move money between them. So this is what's happening now. And we're moving so digital and so AI, it's blooming not funny. And we're really, 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 really early. And I know it sounds like I'm about to promote and sell you some big investment course. And funny enough, I'm actually not. I'm more interested with this in just sharing some stuff to help those who've got on and had a bit of a listen. Yes, we're going to be running an event this Saturday, which people can come to. Yes, we're going to be teaching people stuff, but we're not licensed for financial advice. And I'm really not licensed to promote investment opportunities. More want to just help people because right now there's more of this going on. I'm actually in a group right now where there's a lady who's made millions of cryptos, and she gives her tips away, for example, and doesn't even charge. She says, well, I've made my money. This is my way of helping all of you, get ahead financially. So there's more of that going on now, and it's all part of a consciousness shift that's going on. Who was here at my webinar when I talked about the Claire Gray's consciousness shift that's going on from stage 5 to stage 6, from a achievement thing into a philanthropic community-based social modeling? Just type a Y if you've been there or heard me talk about this previously. Yeah, so all the teachers on demographics and stuff like that, Gay has, I think, more people in my spiritual stuff, my Awakening Within, where I teach on spiritual consciousness. So it's only a small number. But if you study the Claire Gray's modeling of spiral dynamics or Ken Wilber's Religion of Tomorrow, in fact, let me just grab the book and show you. So, yeah, this is important to understand. So Spiral Dynamics is by Graves, okay? And The Religion of Tomorrow is the worst written book in the history of the planet Earth. But once you can work out what the heck that guy's saying, it's amazing stuff. He basically talks about the fact that 500 years ago in the Dark Ages, that was a stage 4 where everything was like black and white. You're either evil or good kind of thing. The stage 5, which he said we moved into over the last 500 years or few hundred years, is more what's called an achievement, understanding gray areas, progressive advancement. And stage 6 is moving more towards a social philanthropic model and community-based world, which we've been moving into over the last little while. But generally, any major consciousness shift is tumultuous because we tend to start getting back traces of the old thing, like the stage 4. We've had that black and white COVID type of sign. So in simple terms, what I'm saying is we're actually in the middle of a major shift right now. And it's still going to be tumultuous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not getting up and saying the world's all perfect and we're in the Messiah land, because I'm not saying that. I still have no doubts that we've got dark days ahead. What I'm saying, and things like that, we're going to be seeing blood on the streets. We're going to be seeing an eventual crash. The whole thing, a lot of things will eventually crash and have to reset. What I'm saying is that what's happened now is going to certainly put it off for a time, and could quite possibly mitigate some of the effects of that to a degree. So it's just understanding that. So we're really, really early right now. And you just want to be educating yourself to be positioned, like really educate yourself, because keeping in mind, Trump's going to be in for like 4 years. I think at least the next 2 years are going to be some good times ahead. And this webinar is kind of just to help people out who want to listen, and for the small group of people who are like, you know what? I'm willing to put the next few months of my life pretty much to go all out to master this kind of stuff, to set myself up for future. Because believe you me, days will come when markets will be grim again and you really won't have much else to do. But who here, type a Y, if you're willing to put some serious work in to set yourself up basically for future, to make life a lot easier for you in the next 20 years of your life. Just type a Y. But you're willing to do that. And I'm talking because you're not going to get rich quick by just jumping on. Yeah. So some of you are saying why? Because trust me, it takes a lot of work. Like I said, I've blooming strained my neck to that. I don't think I've worked so hard in ages of how hard I've been working. And every day just to get things in place and make sure I'm positioned, cleaning up my stuff, improving my spreadsheets, improving my investment tracking. So all that kind of stuff, studying everything that Trump's saying, everything that's going on in the markets, everything in market sentiment on every Telegram group I can get near right now. So this is my favorite quote, and I know I go over and over it, but the best time to plan for difficult days ahead is while it's easy to do so. And it's going to be blooming easy over the next little while to really invest, to get ahead, structure yourself, sort your finances out, and really make a difference to your future. I know that people get up and do all kinds of Instagram and promise they'll get you rich quick and cryptos millionaires. But I can tell you, as a guy, hand on heart, who's a former lawyer, accountant, who's had crypto people come and see me over the years, I've seen people go from like a couple of $100,000 to 20 million in like 18 months in one bull run. I've seen people set up for life. I've got about 3 or 4 clients right now who set up for life from the last bull run. And they give me help every now and again, for example. And they put the work in, they put the time in. They were wise. And the thing I noticed with everyone who's done very well is they're wise. They actually follow all the balanced portfolio stuff that we talk about. They are careful. They don't put money they can afford to lose. They're wise in what they put their money into. So basically things like crypto shares, and I think in the next couple of years, I think the right kind of stocks are going to do very well. I think cryptos, so even if cryptos are difficult for you to get, as I say to people, I mean, you've got the stock market, which I think will do a lot better than it's done for, but so it'll do very, very well. Even with cryptos, even if you just, for example, learn enough to go into the bigger cryptos, like the bigger few in the market, but in the more safer ones, I still reckon you're going to do okay. And again, not financial advice, not basically any recommendations. It's just worth putting in the time to learn more about this. And there's so much out there. So for example, with cryptos, we gave a free thing away. If you go to the Global Wealth Club YouTube channel, I don't quite remember where it is. You'll have to go and search it. But back about 8 months ago or 9 months ago, I think around February, I had Angie, my friend who's done very well with cryptos, come on and do a free webinar to basically help people get started in cryptos. And she gave some great tips of basic sites and where you could go with free training to help you get started, you know? So there's so many people out there who want to help you. And so I don't need to charge you anything for that because there's so many people out there who want to help you and things like that. So there's some really good stuff on that there. And my other real comment is everything that you've learned about this stuff, you do not stop doing the basics, okay? So you've got this stuff here. And again, don't try and do everything at once. If you've never, ever done precious metals, you might start looking at that. If you've got gold and if you've got stocks and got cash, you might think, you know what? I want to get an understanding of cryptos. If you've already got cryptos, you're like, well, maybe I can earn a little bit more to get better at cryptos so I can make some of these really good returns and put the time in to master it and things like that. So it's basically when you're into a boom time, I call it a dartboard market where just about anything that you're going to go into is potentially going to do pretty well within reason or whatever else. So it's just understanding that we've entered into an incredible time of optimism. And I truly believe this. And I've actually been speaking to a lot of people about this. So this is just me getting up, giving my opinion. People I trust, people that I respect, people who've been very accurate, and even the most conservative people I spoke to probably the most conservative crypto person I know. He just said to me, look, I'm still cautious, but it's just hard not to see a manic period for the next year. He goes, I just have difficulty seeing how it won't be like that. And he said, I positioned myself in a way which I haven't done ever, you know, and I'm like, yeah, well, I understand what you're saying. And I'm finding that, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Rothschilds or Buffett said, most people are greedy when you should be afraid, and most people are afraid when you should be greedy. Anyone heard that statement before? That I can't remember who it was, but basically most people are greedy when you should be afraid, and afraid when you should be greedy. And I'm going to come out and say categorically right now, and if I'm wrong, I will own it, that this is a time when a lot of people are still afraid, and I think it's a time to be greedy. So I think it's going to be some pretty good times and some pretty good things ahead. For business, for everything, people's confidence in spending money is going to improve. People are going to find ways to cut costs. I met some people the other day who are part of a barter community in Perth. There's so many things people are doing. I can see dollars resetting and things like that across the world in a good way. So as Buffett who said it. So just keep in mind, but this is a time to go, okay, I'm going to really make sure and I'm going to share something with you that a very wealthy client said to me, like very wealthy. Something I haven't shared much on webinars before, but I kind of want to give it to you as a gift for the few of you that will probably take this on board. Most of you won't. I'm not saying that negatively. It's just a fairly massive thing what I'm about to say. But I asked this client, how did you make 30 million from 200,000 in 18 months in crypto? I said, what changed? I said, you're like this 30-odd-year-old guy who's a contractor, and suddenly you're a rich crypto guy. What changed? I really want to know. And he goes to me, he said, I really sat down one day and asked myself, why? I mean, what's stopping me from really being successful? And I was really pondering, and he's a very spiritual guy. He's a Christian. And he said, I kind of just prayed and said, I'd like some guidance. He said, that night, he goes, I'm watching TV with my wife, and the richest man in New Zealand at the time, a guy called Graham Hart, came on. And he was being interviewed about the secrets of his wealth. And when he's asked, he actually said something which my client said to me, just hit home to me. He goes, most people don't like change and they resist it. He said, we naturally want to think we're right. We naturally want to be skeptical, and we naturally want to think our way of doing things is correct. He said, and we think we're not like that, but we actually are. He said, with me, I always have an open mind no matter how crazy something is, and I presume that my view of the world may well be wrong, and I don't have any ego about it. So he said, if I see an opportunity, which I previously thought was bullshit, and I realize I'm wrong, I adjust my position instantly. And he said, I'm always looking at any changes to think, is this actually going to be the way of the world? And my client said it moved him, because at the time, he'd been going around telling everyone proudly that crypto was the biggest scam he'd ever seen in his life in 2016. And then he said, hearing that, he thought, well, what if I'm actually wrong on this? What if crypto isn't actually the biggest scam I've ever seen in my life? So keep in mind, this was like 8 years ago when crypto was very low still. So he said he went and he researched and learned everything he could. He said it must with his head, because he said he'd always invested in stable shares and stable property. He was seeing young people buy ridiculous coins. They literally had coins called Sex Coin. They had one that was called Nexus and something else. And all of these were coins that were like, one even said they were going to take the internet into another planet, another galaxy. And he said, and people were buying these things and they were going up. And that's why he thought it was a big scam. And he thought, well, he said, for whatever reason, these things he noticed some things have utility. Like there was a way to decentralize, Uber, for example, on the blockchain. He noticed that people were decentralizing and it was more efficient. And a lot of these really crazy things were taking off, like Dogecoin and others. He said after 2 months of research, he said he sat down with his wife and he said, I'm categorically convinced I was wrong in my views about crypto. And I'm going to ask your permission to take, all our spare cash apart from the basics to make sure we're stable and put him in. She goes, okay, I'll trust your judgment. He said, but he said, I was careful. He goes, I put my 200,000 in very gradually. I put it in. I never put more than 500 to 1,000 in anything. He said, on a lot of them went to zero very quickly, but he said some of them did very well. He said one of them went up 100 times in 3 weeks. He said another one went up 500 times. And He said, I made plenty of mistakes, don't get me wrong. But he said, I kept managing my risk. He said, when I made a lot of profits, I cash out, put in the Bitcoin, do that, keep doing that, keep doing that. He said, I just followed basic investment strategy management, but I was doing it with that. And I remember when he said that to me, I just nodded my head. I said, I said, I'm like that. I said, I'm naturally a bit conservative. I'm a bit opinionated. And I tend to think I'm right on everything. And he goes, yeah, and that's probably stopped you making the kind of returns. I said, correct. I said, that's what stopped me. Because I said, I like to think my view of the world is wrong, right? And I don't like it when I think it's wrong and I realize I fucked up. So he said, yeah, he said the difference between someone who's very successful and someone who's not is their ability just to straight out say, well, I fucked up. Or in my case, for example, I categorically have no doubt that the last 4.5 years, there was very good reason to be pessimistic. And I was relatively pessimistic with good reason. What's happened now has changed things. I've gone, okay, I've adapted very quickly. I think right now things are going to be a lot better for a time. And if you can see that, you're going to do well. Whether you do insane returns or whether you just see a significant improvement in your life and financial affairs, or you end up doing a business you love or job, that may be all that happens for you. Or you may just simply find you get more clients in business, you get people more confident, whatever it happens to be. Sadly, many people will be sitting there still trying to convince themselves that their view of the world is right and everything's negative and going to hell. And they will hold that on and hold that on and proudly say that, waiting for the collapse, and then one day wake up and go, shit, I've missed out on all the opportunities. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of evil in the world. There's a lot of problems. But who would agree that you're able to speak? What Trump has shown is that you have a better platform to speak out against evil when you got money. Who would agree? Just type a Y. I mean, look at Trump. The reason that Trump can get in and get Kennedy and clean up the health system is he's rich, he's wealthy, and he's done stuff like that and learned how to play the game. And honestly, I think that what we need right now in Australia is awake, switched on people learning to play the game, getting prosperous and successful, and who knows what we can do with our country. I mean, I'm working with a guy called Trent Chapman, some of you guys know. We're creating a spiritual awakening consciousness spiritual movement because we think Australia needs a major cleanup in our consciousness. We need to get back to moral compass, back to God, back to having a spiritual foundation, whether it's Hindu, Christian, doesn't matter, but having a connection with God and getting back our moral compass. So I'm like, yeah, let's do lots of things, So there's just a lot of opportunity right now ahead. And it's, yeah. And so in summary, I've kind of shared a lot of stuff today, but I really just wanted to emphasize what I shared last week and double down, because the last week has pretty much shown that what was said last week was correct, and you never really know until it happens. But you've got like cryptos have got this. My other little tip, which is actually not mine, but Stephen, and I agree with him, I think pharmaceuticals are going to not do very well in the next couple of years, for example. I think energy could do very well. I think natural health could do very well. By understanding the regime change, you can start to do that, educate yourself and things like that. And I really believe that if you want to be successful, you want to be educating yourself. I've learned whenever I delegate things to other people without knowing what I'm doing and doing the research myself, it bites my butt and I lose money. Just type a Y if you agree with me, or raise your hand. If you found when you delegate and you don't manage it. So yeah, I'm encouraging you all to get educated. And yeah, it's not going to be fun. I mean, getting educated is hard work. We're trying to work on our Global Wealth Club platform to improve it. I'm actually using artificial intelligence software to break all our videos up into 7 to 10 minute videos based on our survey to make it easier for you to read them and watch them, for those of you who are members and those who are not, and probably will be very shortly. You will be able to watch these videos much better done, and things like that. So we're looking at improving it to make it easier for people to follow and stuff like that. But I cannot say strongly enough, like, if you actually look, for example, at what's going on, like take a look at Bitcoin. But this is just showing you what's happened since the election, so 1 month, that's fair, leading up to election. So here is the election. And look at that. So Bitcoin around 65. That's like a 30% rise in Bitcoin alone. You then got Solana. Let's have a look at that one. That was around here. That's gone up to, it went up at one step to 220. So that's also about 30%. Some are even crazier. You've got like Tron here, which is one of the main networks, for example. That was kind of down here, gone up to here. Then you got like, you know, certain meme coins, for example, which are kind of jokes or whatever. These are like silly ones that people just did for a laugh. This one here. So this one's gone up a lot. You know, this is like, in fact, it pretty much went up 80% at one stage in about 5 days. So again, and I'm showing you because keeping in mind, it's still not in the mainstream yet. And people are not really, the hedge funds and the big players aren't going into a lot of these ones yet. They're more just going into some of the ones up here and pouring in the same amounts of capital. So imagine once the hedge funds start pouring in more, you start seeing trading platforms regulated. When Trump and Vance fire Gensler in the SEC, opened up the gates for crypto and digital. They bring in a new fast track approval. They start putting trading platforms where you can go on and access crypto and buy and trade it in the same way as you can with gold and anything else. Where stock market trading will become a lot easier to do, where there will be AI systems to help educate you. Can anyone here not see that it's very, very likely we're going to be seeing some very boomish times in the next few years in digital currencies and AI? Just type a Y if you can think that's at least a pretty damn good possibility. Imagine, and I always say to people, imagine if you had bought in the internet stocks in 1996 when it first started, or 2000, even after the great crash, and everyone was saying doom and gloom, and just went in there. You would have been set up for life by now. So the reason I'm saying all this is that even if you miss the mania for the next month or two it happens, there's still going to be some very, very good days ahead in digital as the Trump-Vance administration does stuff in gold and stocks on a very high likelihood. And I'm not saying, and make sure you follow the balanced portfolio, but if you want to get educated to spread your money and become financially stronger, now is the time to actually do it. And you know, take advantage of the opportunities ahead and educate yourself. So I know some of you are going to be with us in our Thailand retreat. Just type me if you're going to actually be in Thailand next in 10 days of our retreat. You know, there's only a small number, I know. Oh, yeah, Tony. Oh, good. Yep, quite a few of you. Yeah, excellent. Yep, so that's going to be fun for those of you who are there. But yeah, so look, we're going to be doing a masterclass this Saturday. I've decided just to put one on if there's enough people, just, you know, educate a little bit more on what we're talking. I've asked Stephen if he can share on more of the manufacturing infrastructure type of stuff and things like that, making sure that you get educated on that. I'm going to kind of share a little bit more digitals and get someone else to do that. And really just then also at the end of that masterclass, we'll share options for you as to how you can get educated. You know, keep in mind, you may just choose to go off and get educated and get some books, and we're going to give you some books and free tips to go away with so you can do it without charging you. We'll also be offering a program at the end for those of you who aren't members or early stages where you can really get educated and access our stuff, so to speak. Okay. So I'll let you ask your questions now because I've waffled on enough now before we go on that. Yes, there will be a recording. So those of you who basically can't come to the live, you can watch the recording. We will be recording it and we'll probably keep the recordings up for a few weeks, things like that. So there will be recordings. But yes, you will have to buy it before for the price that we're offering tonight, you know, so it'll be higher than that afterwards. And it will only be kept open for a short time because after a few months, it'll be irrelevant anyway. What's my thoughts on XRP? Well, I don't give recommendations simply because I'm not allowed to for financial advice. And the problem is anyway, it's just a guess. And look, everyone, what I'll say as a general comment, which is the truth, Caroline, is that everyone has their cult coin. You know, I've got friends who are adamant that Cardano is the future. I know someone who reckons Ripple. I know others who are convinced that, you know, that these other ones that are the way of the future, Bitcoin Cash. Somebody else said Ethereum. So there's so many, you know, many different ones or whatever else. So basically, my honest view is that in this current boom, I don't think it matters what you go in. If you go in a few, you're going to do okay. I think most of them are going to do well. XRP is in the top ones for good reason. Obviously, it's obviously a, you know, a regulated, relatively stable coin. There's lots of different ones up there. The main thing is to get educated and you follow balanced portfolio and follow diversification in anything that you're doing. That's my rule. I don't put all my thing in any one thing. One of my simple rules of thumb is I manage risk. So for example, for me, if I'm going to put more money in one crypto than the others, I always start at the top, because the higher they are, the stronger they are, and the less risky they are, and the higher liquidity. So I always start at the top myself. And when I first learned crypto 7 years ago with that $30 million client, I was all excited, expecting to be rich in a month, and he bored the crap out of me by getting me started in just buying Bitcoin and Ethereum and nothing else. So that's literally how my journey started with crypto. Then once I bought that, he got me learning to use wallets. Then he was very insistent that I only put, I think it was like 5 or 10% of my account into, you know, risky coins. And he said, you'll do fine, and things like that. So I always go by, so what I'll do this Saturday is I'll share my thoughts on just about everything. I'll share, just educate you a little bit more about gold, about cryptos, you know, generally why people buy gold, and things like that. So again, I'll ask all of you. So right now, for example, in the current market, would you be thinking gold and silver and precious metals is a good buy? I'm not saying don't, because it's part of a portfolio and you should have some hedge. Would you be saying this is a time right now to buy it, or less of a time? Yeah, people saying yes. Interesting, yeah. Okay, interesting. So everyone said yes. I have a slightly different view, but I won't elaborate too much on that one. By the way, I'm not saying not to buy gold, because the balanced portfolio includes it, but you know, it's something you should always have anyway as a physical asset. That's one of the general teachings. So it all comes down to the timing of the market and things like that. So anyway, it's the general idea is that that's why if you don't know what you're doing as much, you always want to do the balanced portfolio. That's my basic rule of thumb. So this little thing here answers your questions. So you always want to have some precious metals, like some gold. And keeping in mind, what I'm showing you is exactly what Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, they have a lot of cash, a lot of bonds, a lot of precious metals. They also have stocks. They do have cryptos and private investments. So the short answer is yes, you can always buy gold. It all depends on whether you're buying it as an investor or as a trader, for example. That's probably the answer there. So as an investor, it's always a good time to buy gold in terms of hedging. As a trader, it's a different time. Keeping in mind that Warren Buffett, for example, he always said time in the market is more important than timing the market. So he would, if he knew that his portfolio needed gold, he'd be buying it today. If he was going to trade gold over the next month, he might be more cautious until it's finished its correction and things like that. Any more questions? And look, has it been helpful for you today? Because like I said, I wanted to do something that was helpful, be useful to get some feedback. Has this been helpful for you? At least at some level. And look, feel free to give direct feedback. Out of 1 to 5 in the chat, 5 being you really thought it was good, 4 you thought it was pretty reasonable, 3 okay, 2 or less pretty shitty. Type in the chat what you reckon. It's good getting 4s. 5s. Okay. If you feel awkward and you want to send me a 1, you can send it to me privately. That's okay. Okay. Thank you. No, that's good. And it's always good to improve. Like I said, today was a bit of an off-the-cuff podcast, so it was a little bit like that, as you would know. So let's finish off now by just sharing about the event this Saturday, and you can come along to this event. Who would like to come along to the class and learn a little bit more about it? Just type a Y if you'd like to come, and you haven't already booked. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I think this current time, and I emphasize you're going to put the work in, this is not anything other than working your bloody ass off. I actually think that I've told my sons and my friends, you have a rare opportunity for the next 2 years. You're probably not going to get again quite like this. So I've said, you really want to position yourself and you want to learn from people who are going to kind of teach you the stuff, not going to try and sell you shit into investments, but kind of, my aim is to give you really damn good content. So you actually get stuff you can use. So I'll just quickly put the link in here so you can access it. Basically, there is a special price tonight. If you're a Secure Your Wealth member, you can come for free. You just have to email us. Otherwise, you're basically, what you would do here is go in and click here. We do have a special promo code to go in. So, which basically ATP70, okay? So it's going to be valid until midnight tonight. So you'll get $127 if you do that tonight. Otherwise, after that, we're just going to make it $197. Okay, so $127 if you do tonight. So just type me if you are. Some have said already me. If you're going to be signing up, just to give us a bit of an idea. You decided, yep, I'm definitely coming to this event. Awesome. Yep. Quite a few people. Keeping in mind, if not many sign up, I'll probably just refund everyone's money and I'll focus on doing it in Thailand. But yep, okay, getting a few means, yep, okay, good. Even if we've got 15, 20 who are serious, I'd rather 15 or 20 really serious people than have 100 people there. Because this event, yeah, I'm going to be teaching you stuff that's nothing that's going to excite you. It's damn hard work and the kind of stuff that you're going to need to do to start to really financially move forward, the kind of management you're going to have to do, the kind of spreadsheets you're going to have to do, the way you want to start tracking your investments. This morning, and I'd be up early in the morning with people on Fiverr, you know, creating more automated spreadsheets, linking to sites, for example, you know, stuff like that. So where you do hard, difficult work. So just type a Y here if you're ready to do hard, difficult work and really get better at your financial side so you can actually get yourself ahead. Beautiful. If just 10 people come out of this and your life's changed, I'll be very, very happy. So great opportunities ahead, everyone. Enjoy and savor these times while they last. Don't get caught up in the negativity. That's my final words to you. Yes, there's negativity. When you see evil, speak against it. Be emboldened to speak against it. This digital misinformation bill definitely needs to kick up the ass. It's bullshit and things like that. And, you know, speaking up to your senators and stepping up and pushing back in politics, it's good, you know. But just keep in mind the big picture, and enough people are making good money. You're coming from a position of strength. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your trust in coming here tonight and hearing me speak. Again, I trust you understand about what I said. I really mean it when I say it's not financial advice. I'm sharing my opinion on what I'm seeing. So far, everything is suggesting it's right, but we just don't know. The whole thing could pull back over the next 2 months. The mania might calm down really quickly and then take off next year. In fact, to be honest, I hope it does do that because it gives me more time to position and help teach you guys so you start positioning. So I'm really hoping that the mania kind of calms down for a few months and then it hits next year. But thank you, everyone. See you next time.